Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bold Takes and Bad Decisions. My name is Zachary Ronaldo, better known online as ZachTheBold. And finally, I can say it once again, it is so good to be back. It has been a little bit. A lot has happened. I think the last time that I did the podcast, I was at maybe over 100K on YouTube. And now I think at the time of this video coming out, have hit 400K on YouTube, which is phenomenal. It is insane. It has been such a short time since the podcast has left, and the growth has been so cool, and a lot has changed. Things have changed on the channel. Some haven't. I'm more consistent with the long form stuff, and I just made a video talking about momentum being lost on D&D, and it's just so funny that, like, you know, I'm sitting around for like a week being like, I want to talk about this. I got to wait for the podcast. I can just make the video. That's the thing. I can just make the video. As you can tell, there's a couple of revisions around the studio. I have the studio. I have moved. We are in a new place. And also a big factor in the world of the podcast is that, like, I wanted to bring it back for a little bit. I wanted to talk about some stuff for quite some time. And we'll get to all that in the episode. But the main thing was that, as you know from the beginning, it was very hot. My room was constantly facing the sun. The AC that I had was literally right next to the camera. I was in such a small room, and there was a lot of noise and things like that, and I'm hoping that a lot of that has been fixed, and I way more like this setup. I have a mic stand now. I don't have to hold the mic and all of that, and I have my laptop right in front of me, and who knows, maybe this is probably going to change a little bit. We might go more of like a wide kind of thing, but we're still building up in the new place. Get the sign, you know, the neon sign and everything. And I do hope, I really like the Broski Report. Shout out Broski Report. And I like their setup a lot. So I'm taking a lot of inspiration from that. Not in this current setup as much, more of like what's to come, which will be a lot more of like a green screen, and it'll be connected to the green screen won't be connected to my computer, but through film magic, it will be. So I think that'll be super fun to have in a little bit. But like I said, I'm still getting settled in. And another big thing is that I have been nonstop traveling for the last like 2 months. So, well, I would say since the beginning of this year. And some of those were because I was on this little show you may have heard called Critical Role. I was flown out to meet Moist Critical. You might have heard of him. And also I was on ScryBabies, and we will get to all the collaborations and be able to talk about that finally and how cool all of that stuff was. And hopefully, you know, more collabs on the future. And I was also at Gen Con. My girlfriend and I went to Austin for a little bit. So we were also out seeing family. I was in Michigan for a bit, seeing some other family as well. So it's been good. It's been great. Things are super busy at the moment. So that's also why things haven't been so good on the amount of videos coming out for short form. But I think that, like, whenever I can really dig my teeth into a good short form video is when I feel most creatively satisfied. And I think more of that will come up as, like, the days go on. Another thing is that I want to be more articulate. I was editing the video that I last put out, and I said thing and like a lot. So I'm going to show that I am a college-educated person, and I will try to get better at, I'm just making sure everything's recording. I'll try to get better at articulating myself and think about the words that I'm saying as opposed to just rambling them out. But we have a lot to get into. I have moved, clearly. We are now in a place that's like much bigger. We have central air. So to all the fans that just liked seeing me have heat stroke on the show, that is not going to be a thing as common anymore, especially because I have equipment and a light, and you can hear it in all my short form vids. So all my audio bros, I'm working on it. The one thing I'm not trained in, I feel like, is audio. When it comes to lighting and you know, using a camera and writing and acting and making jokes, I feel like all those came together for the job that I have now, which I'm blessed to have, except audio. I don't know anything about audio. I have a friend of mine who is kind of like internationally renowned for, he works on commercials and stuff with big name companies. And he's going to be teaching me, you know, a lot about audio soon, but he has kids and stuff, which is weird getting to that age. for me and a lot of other people that I'm talking about as my age. And it's just, I went to a private Christian university for college. And then I moved to Los Angeles. It was like COVID, and then I moved to Los Angeles right after. And it's just so funny coming back home and talking to my friends, and they're like, oh, I have, my second kid on the way, and I'm married and stuff. And then I go to LA, and I'm talking to people that are, much older than myself, and they're still, they're not, what is that called when you're like single or not single, I guess like married and have no children, but you have like a buttload of money. I have stuff like that and friends. And then I have, still aspiring actor friends and everything in Los Angeles. It's just so funny to see the difference between all of those and everything. And then I make funny little videos online, that's always such a weird thing to explain. And I've been having that a lot more. And let me clarify. A lot of you probably be like, oh, I've just found out about you. I've just watched the podcast for the first time. I have literally only been doing this for a year and a half. My entire life has changed. My entire life changes every 3 months, to be completely honest and fair with you. This whole thing has been totally a blur. I have a good buddy of mine who's always asking, like, are you going to go out and celebrate and do this and that? And I'm like, no, actually, the goalpost always moves. I have not celebrated my victories. I haven't in some way, and it's been super great. But it is true that, like, Aaron Hansen said this a long time ago, Ego Raptor, when I was, going through high school and stuff, and he's like, the goalpost always moves, so you got to enjoy the ride. And I am, but man, it is hard to like stay and be like, if you told me a year and a half ago I'd be on Critical Role, I mean, that's insane, right? Like that's, how do you even think about that quantifiably, right? It was a year and a half ago. I was working at a restaurant in downtown Los Angeles, and now everything is totally, now I'm like, working, collaborating with huge names that I've been watching since like high school. You think I like just met Moist Critical in person and was like, oh, I've seen some of your vids. Dude, I watched you growing up. We'll get to all that in a second. We will. I was going somewhere with this. Okay, if you're new to the pod, you're going to realize that I go on a lot of tangents and I forget instantly. People are like, Zach, you have ADHD. You got all this stuff, whatever. My mind runs at 4,000 miles an hour, right? And I'm catching glimpses of the flowers on the side of the raceway. That's me being more articulate. All right. There's going to be more poetry, metaphors, and symbolism inside the podcast itself. I can already tell, like, from the setup I have, we love the podcast. We love being here at the podcast. It's feeling really good. I have notes in front of me now, so hopefully that'll keep me on track a little bit more, which will be super great because that was a problem. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that the podcast itself is going to be changing a little bit more because I think it was like the second or third episode I said, I cannot be doing something that, has the same 4 takes, and then I'm on episode 100, and then someone's like, oh, I'll go back and see what Zach is up to at the podcast, and it's the same, same stuff the entire time. I said stuff, all right? I got to put a dollar into the literacy jar, all right? The same takes, all right? I got to make sure I know what I'm talking about, so even taken out of context, so that you can clip it. What was I talking about, dude? Okay, so this is a whole lot of the podcast. Holy cow. I'm really trying to like crank it back a couple of notches. And I didn't want the same takes throughout the whole podcast, and it would become a really boring. So we're moving into like something where we have a bit more segments on the show. And the other big thing is that like D&D, as the last video that I made, is it weird with the hands like this? Maybe I should zoom out a bit more. The weird thing about D&D is that, I'm like more excited for like Daggerheart and Pathfinder and, all these other TTRPGs because there's just no hype around. I mean, there is. To me, like the hype around D&D, and I think this is for a lot of people, comes from Dimension 20 and Critical Role, the Adventure Zone, things like that, right? People are yearning more for the next, Dimension 20 show than they are the next book as of right now, right? And that's more exciting to talk about. So I've moving into more segments and talking about other things. So to give you a good idea, this is the catch up episode. We're catching up. We're talking. We're getting back into where we were, kind of between the last podcast and now this one. And we will still take questions, of course. Send your questions over at boldtakes@outlook.com. Can we relax with making fun of me about the friggin'? I've tried to make 2 Gmails and it says I'm a fraud scammer each time. Each time it tells me that. So let's relax. It's an Outlook. It's a Hotmail email address. And you know, let's just relax. Okay, it's not my fault. I would make a Gmail if it was. So boldtakesoutlook.com. Send me your sticky situations. Send me your situations at your table for Dungeons and Dragons, and I will talk to you and give you the definitive right answer, 100%, no gray. This is black and white answer, the best thing that possibly could come out, and that way you can have the best takes for when you're at your table. Recently, we gotta address it. We gotta address something. I was scrolling on Reddit. And I'll be honest, I occasionally, you know, search myself up on Reddit just to see what people are kind of talking about in the communities about me. I'll be honest, you know, it's also just to see, like, you know, if it's mostly to see if the Magic the Gathering community is talking about whenever I'm on a guest on some show and they're like, ZachTheBold is actually the most, he misplayed. Dude, I've been playing a year. No, it's also other things, but I came across this thread that was talking about. They were like, my DM starts giving out crybaby points. What do I do? And I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, that moment to me was so surreal, because that was one of the moments that it was like, it was separated from me, but also right to me at the same exact time. You know what I mean? And it goes on, and it calls out the DM for being like a Nazi and a bunch of other terrible stuff. But that was to me, when I saw that, right? That was my moment of watching the raindrops. That was me in the Christopher Nolan film about the bombs. That was me in oh my God, why can I not think of his name? Hold on, let me look it up. Hold on. Pause. Christopher Nolan film about bombs. That was my Oppenheimer moment. I was looking at the raindrops. I was talking to Einstein. This is me talking to XP to level 3. Looking at the lake. Do you think we've already set off those ripples? Do you think that is the crybaby points? And there were some people being like, this is stupid. That was a joke video. This comes from ZachTheBold. He would never. And as people knew from listening to the podcast before, like, I have used crybaby points before in my D&D games. That's another thing, is I've just finished my first ever level 1 through 20 D&D campaign. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. But for me, it was just like, holy moly, that it's not even, they don't know who I am, and it impacts their life and their D&D game. But I talked about the podcast before, about how I've used crybaby points, and they don't work, really. I mean, if you're already arguing with a player that much that you need to give them a crybaby point, when you give them a crybaby point, they'll go, okay. And then you want to strangle them, dude. And then you want to just get off my table, bro. Put the dunce hat on them, grab them by the the waist of their pants and the back of their shirt and throw them out. Okay, I'll take your crybaby point. How about you get off my table, dude, before I take a confetti popper and just... No more pocket sand. I have a full tube-length confetti popper. I've been roaming around. So it doesn't work. It doesn't. It is for a bit. Yes, I've used them. Do I endorse them at this point? Kind of for like a joke, but they don't work. If you're already arguing, like I said, if you're already arguing with a player to that point, they're already going to piss you off. Like, okay, you can give me a crybaby point. And then you take it away, and then it's a whole thing, and they seem like you're ego tripping, and I've been roaming around. Okay, you can give me a crybaby point. Me launching 70 confetti cannons at them at once from under the table. Ballad of Buster Scruggs style. I've been roaming around. So that was a very bizarre thing to me, because it's like, oh, I have an impact on this community that I'm starting to become, you know, a little bit, that sounds egotistical, but a little bit of a staple in, right? Like I'm established. Whereas a year ago, right, I'm the new kid on the block. Like, no one cares. Oh, you're the D&D. I get that a lot too. You're the D&D TikTok guy and everything like that. No, you're the asshole that told my player. You're the dude who told my DM to give me crybaby points. Oh, my actions have consequences? Do you think the ripples in the water? Do you think they'll have some impact? Do you think it's already been done? Oh, right. This awful guy who's my DM, he watches ZachTheBold, and then I'm there on Twitter, I'm on Reddit. Oh, great. Yeah, that's what I meant for that to happen. That's really cool. So that was a very, very crazy thing to come across. But no, if you mention Zach Ronaldo, oh my gosh. Hold on. I think I got to, oh my God, my SD card, I think, is starting to fill up. All right. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sorry. It's not that I have a small memory card. I knew I should have formatted it before I came in. I just didn't realize there was like only 4 minutes left on the memory card. So now we'll be good. No more interruptions, hopefully, for the rest of the pod. Just looking up on seeing, yeah, so I've been making a lot more long form videos. Thank you for all the support on those. My favorite, of course, is like the 4 historical review. That will be a series. I love making those. I'm hoping that they can get a little bit more complicated shot-wise as we go on and figure things out. But now I have like my own space. Shout out to my old roommates, great guys. But it's nice to have my own space now and an office and a place to shoot, so I don't have to take down and put. That's a thing I did seriously before. Not that it's like some guys in 90-degree weather, putting on someone's roof, and I go, well, I had to bring my equipment up and downstairs every day, guys. Can you imagine? Somebody's working at the 4 a.m. to work on an oil rig. Oh, did you, Zach? Did you have to bring up your equipment every time? Guys, it just took out so much time out of my day. It was like a full slamming a chain around an oily thing. Someone just got decapitated next to them. Oh, did you, Zach? Did you have to bring it up and down the stairs? Guys, it's so much better. Oh, woe is me. But thank you for all the support on those. More to come out. And it doesn't mean that I'm only going to make the Force Oracle type videos, like the Office parody kind of things. I'm just gonna make, and I'm feeling like looser. I'm feeling loose. I'm feeling like I can make whatever I want now in long forms. Maybe if I need to make a quick rant about the states of things, I can do that. I also have the podcast, back now, and here we are, and that's super nice because I'm opinionated. I have ideas and thoughts on things, and I've been in this community for so short time. I've been in the community for 12 years in a sense, right? I've been playing D&D for such a long time. But to be like a representative of the community in some way has been very short, and seeing it come out of I said I wouldn't be saying that a lot more. That's another dollar in the friggin'. I'm articulate. I'm a scholar. What I was saying was that, I want to be, to see it come out of 2020, and especially short form Dungeons and Dragons content, and, some people being able to evolve and adapt out of that as people kind of got a little fatigued out of stuff like that. And we will get into that rant, which is something I want to talk about a little bit later on. And then, coming into it 5 years later, 2025, 5 years after 2020, 2018. So why can I remember 2018 and 2019 so much better than I can remember 2022? Right? That's so wild to me. Yeah, so it's just it's cool to see it evolve, and I have a lot to think about, and coming out of the excitement of Baldur's Gate and Honor Among Thieves and all that, and things start to settle down and where things go next, and playing Magic and seeing how much more hype there is around that from Wizards, not exactly the community. I think the tabletop role-playing game community is so extensive and large and untapped. And I think I'm a perfect example of that, of, making what I have in the last year and a half, is people they want Dungeons and Dragons content that's, Dimension 20, Adventure Zone, Critical Role, and everything aside, that isn't like a 7-hour episode actual play, and it's just a little bit more, because D&D, other than Baldur's Gate 3, is the one thing you can't just play in your own time. Oh, it's another dollar. Own time. As opposed to Magic, you can play Arena. Video games you can play anytime. You can watch anytime, and there's it's hard to find something that encapsulates the equivalent of telling a story around a campfire, right, with all of your friends and things like that. And you can online role play and stuff. I'm not big into that. I'm not a big advocate for stuff like that. But I know it's something people do. I think it's just, it's weird to see the space transform in such a small amount of time, and I think it's something we should talk about. And it's something I talked about in my last video, and you can go watch that if you want a little bit more. But with that being said, thank you all for the amazing support. It has been so cool. Thank you for changing my life. And this is how kind of the new segments are going to be, at least right now. So we're going to do catch up. That's not going to be every week. You know, maybe if like there's something, we'll talk about some D&D news, Magic the Gathering news, other things I want to talk about, and have like a catch up at the beginning of the episode. And then I will be talking about, you know, a couple of things that I want to talk about within the community. As well as just like maybe just a random take. That's going to be a different segment. It's going to be just a random take that I have, whether it be about video games or board games or film or anything else, just because I like talking about that stuff. And you know, as much as this is a D&D podcast and everything, I think that there should be different elements of me just being like, you know, put a dunce hat on your players and kick them out so you don't have a table. And then, of course, we'll get into the questions that you guys send in, boldtakes@outlook.com. Don't make fun of me. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of just wrap it up. So we'll see how it goes. But since this is the catch-up episode, there's going to be way less questions, and it's going to be more catching up for things like that. So let's get into the collaborations. Oh, my gosh. I have been collaborating with so many cool and awesome people, something that, like, I couldn't do without you guys, and that's super awesome, and I hope you've been looking at it. A couple of things is that I'll be talking about is the collaboration with Moist Critical and Skill Check. The collaboration with ScryBabies and this the collaboration with Critical Role, and what those looked like and how cool it was and everything like that. So I will do like a general overview and then get more into like the details of each one. So Travis Willingham, you may have heard of him, messaged me 2 Novembers ago on one of my, he commented on one of my videos. It was the one, you can actually go back and look at his comment, where it all started. It was the one where it was like they were deliberating on a plan for so long. This guy stands up and he's like, whatever. And then it was like the Sex Bomb audio. And it was the first time I ever threw the dice at the camera in slow motion. And people were like, oh my God, it's like a Guy Ritchie film. And he commented on that. And that was super cool. And I was like, that's wild. And then he messaged me and he was like, hey, love your stuff. Think you're super funny. Would love to get in contact with you. And then that following February, I did play tests and I met pretty much the whole squad except Ashley and Laura. And I played a little bit of Daggerheart with them and I played some D&D with them. And it was super, super dope. I mean, surreal, right? It was so, and all of those guys are super cool. People ask me all the time, what was it like to work with Critical Role? And I'm like, surreal, like still so unbelievably crazy that I got the opportunity to do something like that. And everyone's so inviting, so nice. And what I want to say is that they're so professional. It was like I was on a film set. I love that. I am a big supporter of, you know, making the best content that you can making like high quality, like content in film should not be for a lot of things should not like blur over when it comes to like, if you work on a film, and this is for my non-film people out there, other than like actors, directors and stuff, making a film is like very blue collar. Relax, all the blue collar, but well, actually, you don't have to change a PVC pipe. You don't gotta check. I work in HVAC. Okay, I appreciate you, whatever. But it is like if you're a gaffer, like you are an electrician, you are working on a film set. If I say like one more time, you're working on a film set, and what people come out of or go into film school, and if you are going into film school and stuff, be ready for this, and depending on what you want to do, don't expect like a blue collar job, okay? Expect that you're going to work crazy long hours and do a ton of manual labor. It is not glamorous. And that's like the thing is like LA's not glamorous and the entertainment industry is not gonna. No, you're working that's what I'm saying is you are working a blue collar job. And I have so much respect for the people at Critical Role because they take it so seriously and they want to make a great product. And I love that. And that was just such a cool thing to be around such inspired people who want to take this community and make something great. And it's the same thing with Daggerheart. I've been talking a lot about Daggerheart, and I want to make something very clear. I want to make 2 things very clear. Number 1, I still have not finished or started a campaign with Daggerheart. I've played many one-shots with it. And I can't have an opinion about it yet, and I don't want to talk about it in a gameplay capacity yet because I don't feel like I have the knowledge to be able to talk about it in that capacity. Number 2, in no way am I receiving any sort of sponsorship or money or anything. I don't think anyone's really worried about this from the Darrington Press team, from Daggerheart, anything. I purely like what I've seen with the system, and I like, and it goes back to what I was just saying, they have such respect for making something that is good. And to me, it is so refreshing coming out of the short form world. We'll get into this later. I'm kind of going off on a tangent. That where that stuff, it's respected to varying degrees, right? Very varying degrees. So it's super refreshing, and that was super cool to be on the Critical Role set and to work with professionals who are so passionate and are so cool and inviting, and it's been super awesome. So we'll get more into that in the details in just a little bit. ScryBabies is an empty Magic the Gathering channel. They typically play competitive Commander. I don't want to get into like what CEDH is and stuff like that. And that's where I've learned a lot of my stuff about that. Me and Lua were in a project together that never saw the light of day. And we've kind of kept in contact since. And then I started making Magic content. And she reached out and she was like, "Oh, we would love to have you on ScryBabies." And I go, "That's awesome. I watched ScryBabies because we were on a project together. And that's why, I got into it in the first place and everything like that." So that was super cool. We'll get you might get into that a little bit, but just it's super cool. And I'm so happy to be on that. That was super nice. And the Magic community has been so cool. And I was at MagicCon, and we'll get into MagicCon, and Gen Con's coming up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. And of course, Critical Role. So, but we're going to start out with talking about my experience working with the Skill Check team. Around the same time that Travis had invited me out to play groups, I had gotten a message in my spam folder of my Discord, and not spam, but like requests. And they were like, "Hey, I'm so-and-so from Moist Critical's team. We run a channel called Skill Check. We would love to have you on." And I go, "This is a scam." I go, "These people want my money. They want my social security number. This is no way this can be happening. What does Moist Critical want to do with me?" And their team and Skill Check and everything like that. And while about a year passes, I did answer them, and some logistics got in the way and whatever. And then about a year later, they followed up and they were like, "Hey, yeah, things have been a little busy and crazy. We would still really love to have you on the channel." And I was like, "Sure, why not? Can we have a video call first?" And I talked to them and met them all, and I researched Skill Check and everything like that. And we had decided that we were going to play some Magic, which is super cool. And also I was going to run a D&D game for them. And I was super excited. It was awesome. It was super fun. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. You can see me DM for the Skill Check guys. And that was really awesome. But we can talk a little bit more about what that looks like in preparation and things like that going forward. I got, they flew me out. I met Charlie. He's super cool. He's exactly how he is in person as you see him online. Super funny guy. True, Ryan, super awesome. And just like the whole team. And they were just gracious enough. I talked to Matt and Charlie and stuff. And it was super cool. They asked if I had management, and I had just gotten out of, so I had done Critical Role and I had shot that. And then 2 weeks later, like less than 2 weeks later, I was, meeting up with Charlie. And they were like, "Do you need representation?" So now I have a management team, and they are super cool. And it has been so relieving to be able to kind of put a load of work off onto other people. And they motivate me. They really get on me because I've told them I have my own goals and everything. Even though it's a super busy part in my life, like they are making sure that I get stuff done. And I'm really appreciative for that because otherwise I'd just be like, "Oh, I moved for 7 hours today. Like, I don't want to write something, right?" But no, they are on me about it, and I appreciate them so much. And if it wasn't for Skill Check, like, if I say it one more time, and if it wasn't for Skill Check, I mean, really, they just changed. They turned a lot of stuff around. And we shot some shorts and stuff with them. There's one short that never saw the light of day just because we had some technical difficulties, which is such a bummer, but hopefully we'll be back and we can shoot some of that. The Magic games were super cool. A lot of people said they were the number one thing on that video when I did the Commander box, and how that looked like, and the Commander was that like I was visibly shaken, I was nervous, and Yeah, true. I do have like slight hand tremors. I don't know. I think you'll see that more. I think you can see it in ScryBabies and stuff as well. But yeah, I was a little nervous. I met Charlie, and I was a bit more out of my element. I've only been playing Magic for about a year, so to be able to like still think about the cards and making a deck and entertain at the same time was a lot. It was awesome, but it was like a bit more out of my element than it was being on like Critical Role, which is like, debatably bigger and like, Critical Role and D&D and everything like that. But, I've been practicing for 12 years not to be on Critical Role, but, I've been playing for 12 years. I have more practice with it. Whereas like Magic, that's like a big thing whenever, and I had this on ScryBabies too, where I'm like, I'm sorry, can I read this card? I don't know what it does. I've never seen it in my life. There's 30,000 cards and I don't know them. And I play Standard a lot and I play, Commander, but not much outside of my pod. So was I nervous? A little bit. Okay. But I think people brought it a little bit out of proportion because my hands are trembling. Also, I pulled a $150 card. Okay. Which, whatever. All right. Whatever. Stop talking to me about the email name. All right. boldtakesoutlook.com is fine. So that was super cool. Getting into the D&D stuff, that was super awesome. They were really excited to play. The thing is it was supposed to be an 8-hour session, and we were going to split it up into 2 4-hours, and I had this whole entire thing from my home game that I was going to do, and it was going to get a lot more into like the world building elements of stuff. So the actual thing that came out was 4 hours split up into 2 different segments. And I had this huge like explanation of like this world that brings, BioShock Infinite, American colonial, architecture, also steampunk and Warhammer 40K, and then ended up also being, Humblewood, small critters, stuff like that. And it was like never really expanded on through the rest of that short like thing. And it did help some people in their character creation and things like that. But the reason that the world is so fleshed out and everything is also because it's my homebrew world, which is like done. We've finished the campaign and stuff, and we might be expanding more and stuff like that and what it looks like. Not in an actual play. A lot of people have been asking me to start an actual play. I will not. I even when I was talking about the podcast last time, I was talking about it a bit more. I can say with full confidence right now, it is not something I'm pursuing. An audio drama, maybe like a 30-minute audio drama that comes out bi-monthly or something like that is something I'm much more interested in, and just writing in general. But getting people together to play, I'd want it to be in person, and I don't have the space nor the production value yet to do something like that because, again, I don't want to make something for the sake of making it, making me feel good of like, oh, well, I made this and now I've completed the trigger in my brain to go and be creative and make things and whatever. I don't want to do it just for the sake of making something. I want to make something for the sake of telling the story and having a reason for it to be there in the first place. And I think that with a audio drama would be a bit more capturing than something like an actual play. And that's not to say something like that won't come out ever. It's just not something I'm pursuing now at this moment. So there's that update. It was super fun working with the skill check team on that, but it was, we had just like, as Charlie's a busy dude, right? There's going to be problems with scheduling and things like that. And my time got cut in half pretty quickly. So I just like, I just like made a one shot based on like small critters, which I really like, where previously I had a bit more of a convoluted political espionage detective mystery. And then now it's like probably clicking for a lot of people like, oh, that whole atmosphere would have made more sense for something like that. I think it definitely worked with the critters. And that's very inspired from Historia, which is a mana collective book, I think is the name. It's one of my favorite D&D expansions for sure. And as opposed to anthropomorphic animals, it's just like actual animals. And every time I run something like that, I always have someone who's just like, I'm like, hey, as big as like a guinea pig, right? And then I get someone to brings in a 6-foot alligator, and it just ruins everything, and the scale's totally off and whatnot. But I think it came out really good. I wish I had just a little bit more time to prepare for something like that. But sometimes like the magic of storytelling comes out of thin air. You know what I mean? Like, does that have to be something that has to be pre-made and every detail figured out. Like, no, it doesn't. So it was super cool, and I'm glad I was able to show off my DMing skills. But I also just came off a red eye. My eyes were bloodshot. I met Charlie. My eyes, I was wired out of my mind. I was like, "Hi, nice to meet you." My eyes are bloodshot. I can barely see. And we got right into it too. So I hope that one day we can come back and continue in the world of York Swallow and see, different things where we can see different angles of stories and different avenues of telling the story through that world and stuff. And I don't know what I'm doing yet for my next homebrew world, but I think it's going to be something like very Last of Us plus Attack on Titan inspired, and not zombies, but like some other monster atrocity, like killed off humanity, and it's in the future. It's not in the future. Well, it's in like a post-apocalyptic future, but also has magic in it. And I don't want it to be, my last world was like the Cataclysm was magic coming out, and I don't know if I want that to be the thing again. I feel like that's a little unoriginal for myself. And I just kind of want to challenge myself as a storyteller and all that. The other big thing is I was on ScryBabies. Super fun. What I will say is, one, they told me a power level 3 or 4. It was in the email. I have proof. And number 2 was that I popped off. And we love Vinkst or whatever. So had a lot of fun there. And thank you for having me, ScryBabies. If you haven't, please go check. If you want to be a better Magic player, go check out ScryBabies. They rock. Tori and Lua are such great hosts. Please go check out their stuff. Also, I was on Critical Role, so we can talk a bit more about that. So I had heard pretty much nothing for a year, which is fine. That's the entertainment world, whatever. Listen, if you're on Critical Role, if you're on Dimension 20, if you're on anything like that, you hit it, whatever, make your own stuff, show your own art, be your own boss. Like, opportunities will come to collab. They will come to, oh, that's great. They'll come to collab. But always concentrate on just making your own stuff, on creating your own art and having your independent personality and your independent claim to fame. And I think a lot of people get caught up in being like, I'm this guy from this. I am from Z, whatever. Yeah, real articulate. I'm so glad we're on a much better train now. I think there's just a lot of problems with people waiting for the call. This is both in the entertainment industry and the content creation, the content creation space. And then there's a lot of overlap there, and there's, a century of knowledge in the film world to learn something from, and there isn't for the content world. And there's a lot of overlap, and people don't take that wisdom as content creators from the world of film into the world of content creation. I think there's a lot to be learned there. Do not wait for the call. Make your own art and show your own art. And we'll get into a rant about this in a little bit. But it was just like, I wait around, and I'm not waiting around. I'm being proactive and making my own stuff on my channel. And then all of a sudden I'm playing Binding of Isaac Rebirth. And I look down at my phone, and it's an email from Critical Role. They're like, you're on in 2 weeks. Oh, okay, dang. All right. We get everything set up, and I was being a little bit I was snooping around and seeing who else I was playing with, and I saw this email. I go, who's this? And I look it up, and it's Ego Raptor. It's Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps. And I have to be fully transparent here. I grew up watching. I remember when Game Grumps came out because I was actively watching Ego Raptor stuff at that time. And this was still when he was like making it with JonTron and stuff. And his Sequelitis series, for those who remember that, really did inspire a lot of my long form content. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I'm not only going to be on Critical Role, but I'm playing with Ego Raptor. And I met him. He was super cool. Everyone was super awesome. Zena Robinson was awesome. Me and Taliesin, the first time we played, got along real well. Like, we had this awesome conversation about Pathfinder, and he was telling me some stuff about like growing up and playing different, and like how, Critical Role started out in Pathfinder and stuff. And it was super cool to see him again. And I think that was definitely the first time I met Ashley. And I got to tell you guys, it is the most surreal thing for someone like that, or like just for anyone that was at that table to be like, oh, I love your content. What? That's insane to hear. I can tell you right there. Zach, what's it like being Curl? Insane. Awesome. Amazing to be around such motivated and cool people. And I was like, I'm going to be cool. And I'm especially going to be cool when Aaron talks to me and everything like that, even though he inspired me to become a content creator and has inspired a lot of my long form stuff and everything like that. And then he goes, oh, by the way, I watched some of your stuff. It was pretty good. And I just fold, dude. I fold instantly. I go, actually, I've been watching you for the last 10 years. What is wrong with me, dude? This is advice to content creators and artists in any capacity. Artists, anyone, music, charcoal, film, whatever. You get to a certain point. No, I will take that away. You don't get to a certain point. The second you want to be respected and you want to be, you got to start acting like your equivalents in any way, right? I don't care if you've made one short film for your Film 101 class. If you meet Martin Scorsese, I don't want you to say you're a big fan. On today's dog shit advice, that was clearly an exaggeration, but you need to start seeing people as you are also an artist. You are also a creator, right? Don't be making comments or don't be making something up in your head that you are not also that person. All because someone has a degree of success that you have not seen yet. Do not act like they are some pinnacle way up high and that you can't reach and everything like that. But with that being said, I absolutely just start. Well, actually, I've been watching Sequelitis was like one of the best things I've ever seen in my life, and it's inspired me a lot. And he goes, oh, whoa, that's crazy to hear. Thank you. And I was like, yeah, no problem. That's cool. That's cool. And that was like pretty much the only point where I was like kind of broke character a little bit. But he was super cool. We had a lot of fun. I want to say, and like every creator says this and whatever, but it has been pointed out to me by some higher ups that some people, who knows, there was just a point where look at that table and then there's the D&D TikTok guy. You know what I mean? But the reception that we had from people being like, oh, that's Zach. That's really cool to see him here. Was out of this world. Out of this world. The reception for me being on Critical Role was so amazing. Was so cool to see. I had a 5-hour watch party. Bless my friends. We watched it together and sing and chat and stuff. People calling me D&D Germa. Thanks for that. How awesome was it to see oh my God, it's Aaron. Oh my God, it's Zeno. And then to be like so many comments being like, oh my God, that's ZachTheBold. That's so cool. Surreal. Guys, I've been doing this a year and a half. Surreal. And just so grateful. So grateful. And the Suikoden one shot did so well numbers wise. And people really loved it. And it was just so fun. So a big thank you to everybody who commented, or I saw the tweets, I saw the Reddit threads, whether it be in r/Game Grumps or Critical Role or anything else, and saw people comment and the Instagram posts and everything. And I just want to say how cool and thank you. And I appreciate you guys so friggin' much. With all of these collaborations, I'm sure there'll be more on the horizon, and I can't say that for sure. But even just to have this one opportunity has been super dope. And I hope I can make something at some point where people are as excited to watch Critical Role as I was watching, Sequelitis growing up and stuff like that. And it's reminders of stuff like that, of how far I've come, and also how crazy it is to be in a position like this, after working so hard to get to something like this. And I say that like, it's a year and a half ago is when I started and all this has happened and everything like that. But in reality, it's I went to film school. I acted throughout high school and college. I went out to LA to be an actor. And then the writer's strike happened and I made some videos and it really popped off. And it's just like, you never know if it's going to work out. But if you're an artist and you're crazy enough to think that it will, right? It's way more possible than you could think it ever could be. And as a person who split logs for money in high school and stuff like that, I didn't do that all the time. Like there's people who work much harder than me and have worked much harder than me. And I was a server for like 9 years and serving's a hard job. It really is. But like seeing that and then being in this position now where I can create and people will watch it and interact with it and engage with it. And like, whether it be bad or good, someone says, my DM is doing something ZachTheBold did at my game. They don't even know who he is or they don't know who I am or whatever. Is just so wild, but it's so cool. And it's so cathartic to feel and acknowledge that I'm making a difference in the community and to be accepted and to make something that like the people I really idolize, to be able to make something so cool. So to be into that now is so weird and different and awesome. And I just appreciate all of you guys. So that's it. If you have any specific questions, let me know. boldtakesoutlook.com. Don't make fun of the email. Or just put in the comments. I'll read the comments of like any other specifics that you want me to get into. But it was just a super cool experience. And thank you guys so much. Also with ScryBabies, just know I used every counterspell out of my deck, only 5. Please don't make fun of me for that. Next up, I was at MagicCon. MagicCon was super cool. I was recognized way more. If you recognized me there at MagicCon, thank you for coming up and saying something. Thank you for, shouting out and whatever. I've only made like 6 Magic videos, but they all did pretty dang well. And I'm still learning a lot about Magic. And Magic to me is so interesting. I do want to preface this for all my D&D viewers. The majority of my followers are D&D. This is not going to be a Magic and D&D podcast. There's going to be a Magic segment. I'm just currently talking about catching up with MagicCon and everything like that. So surreal to see how many people have interacted with me in the Magic community. And a lot of people say they love my D&D shorts, and that's super cool. But just to be like, listen, I want to get into video games at some point. I love Magic the Gathering. It's cool to see me go into like other spaces, but it's cool to see other people respect that I'm going into other spaces. And the Magic community, both from the creator side and the fan side, the community side, have just been so dope. And I really appreciate that. And thank you for welcoming me with open arms and such a different environment because collaborative storytelling versus a competitive card game. I just love Commander too. I do love Standard. I wish Modern was on Arena. I love the competitive aspect of it. And we'll get into that in a second. But MagicCon was awesome. Hottest weather I've ever experienced in my entire life. I lived in LA for 4 years. I've never experienced something like it was in Vegas. I mean, it was nighttime, 10:30 at night. It was 98 degrees. It was dark outside. It was windy. And the wind was fire. It was like I opened an oven and a gust of wind came out. If you live in Vegas, if you live in something like that, props to you. That was the craziest dry heat I've ever experienced in my life, and it was one day. And that's what made my eyes bloodshot. I made an Instagram story about it, and it just made my eyes bloodshot. And that's what did it. It was just the constant heat in my eyes. Mad respect for you guys. Shout out Vegas. Love Vegas. Hold on. I'm going to fix my... Before we get into questions, I have a couple more things to talk about. The number one thing that has been popping up a little bit more, and this is a bit more of a serious conversation, is a thing that short form has been battling with for some time, and so did 2005 YouTube, which is the acceptance kind of from the community, but mostly other creators in the short form world of how it's seemingly okay to just steal someone's video, not in the sense of repost, like the sludge content, the stuff where it's just me with a line through it and someone's making. Thank you to everyone who points that stuff out and sends it to me like, oh, this person's stealing your video. It's just you with slime being made. I don't know if a lot of people know this. When I go, the only way, because a lot of the reporting system on a lot of these sites just does not work. What I have to do as a creator to get these videos taken down is I have to make a legal copyright claim against these videos that are stealing my content. When that happens, I have to give my name, my full name, my phone number, and my address to make this copyright claim. When I do that, that claim legally is sent to the owner of that video that it's being taken down. In order for me to take down content that is being stolen from me, I have to dox myself. I can put it, listen, loops aside, I have to dox myself in order to get those videos taken down. You can mass report all you want. You can do whatever you can. You can reach out to TikTok. You can reach out to Instagram. You can do whatever. Nothing happens unless the creator makes a copyright claim against that video or channel. I don't even know if you can make a copyright claim against a channel. Sometimes they used to take down the channel. Now they just take down the videos. Money, in my opinion. I don't know. I will be doxxed if I do that, or the potential to be doxxed. And it's just a lose-lose situation, right? Maybe some people recognize my stuff and look whatever. I appreciate everyone who sends me that stuff, but if it stays up for a while, the reason being, like, it doxes. That's for every creator. That's not just for me. That's every creator. So, yeah. So that's that thing. But I want to talk to something a little bit more serious. And this is way more prevalent in the short form world. And I've talked to a lot of long form creators and why they don't make shorts, because I do genuinely think that short form is the best way to grow communities in 2025. Whether you be a streamer, a long form creator, a actual player, a let's player, whatever. You clip it, you put it on TikTok, you get views. Queso, Jinxie, Sketch, FaZe, Adapt, all these people are because they've been clipped farmed to death, because they know that works, and it does. They are made because of clips from short form content. Not to say any of these people that makes them any less creative or talented or anything like that, right? And that's not to say this is an age range thing too, right? And there's a reason I named those names, and there's a certain age range of people who watch videos like that, right? And again, not discrediting any of their talent or if they're funny channels or anything like that, but it is the number one way, and this is advice to creators out there: put your stuff, make short form content, find out what works, right? But it's still the Wild West, and there's a lot of things that are accepted in short form that we saw accepted in long form years ago, 10 years ago. I remember watching videos, videos about how much they hated reaction viewers, right? How they wouldn't say anything. And there's still channels like that today. I just don't think it's as popular. And they wouldn't add anything, and they'd steal other people's content and stuff like that. And that's the thing, is just like, we are still in the Wild West of short form content. But I want to make myself pretty clear to those who are coming into the D&D community, the Magic community, and other stuff like that. And I'm going to make a claim for my case. And whether you have 10,000, 20,000, 2,000, a million, 20 million. It gets a little bit worse if you're a bigger content creator. If you steal my video and you shot for shot, word for word remake it, but you tag me in it, you give me credit, I lose all respect for you as a creator. And there's a couple of reasons why. When I got into this community, when I got into Dungeons and Dragons, one of the main things that when I was like, this is something I can do with my life, this is something that I know I can cement myself in, and once the videos started doing super well, and let me be clear, I didn't have those before I made the first video. I am saying when I after the first 5 videos and the momentum kept going, I was like, if this is something I can do, I want to do it right. And coming out of seeing what came out of 2020, D&D and Magic, we'll stick purely to Dungeons and Dragons. To Dungeons and Dragons TikTok and other short form content was the same 4 jokes told the same exact way for 3 years. And not to say I came on the scene and switched everything up, but I think for sure that I had some play in changing having creators realize they need to start putting in more effort to get the numbers that they want. That they explain all the time. It's the algorithm, and all of these guys, go out and they're like, oh, if you post at this certain time and look at these analytics, and that does play a factor in it, right? But the thing is that it's for some people it boils down to like effort in content, and that's not to say like sometimes I don't make the best videos all the time. You know what I mean? But if you steal my videos word for word, shot for shot, you have to realize that you are going against everything that I'm standing for in this community, which is original, high quality videos, to not only bring people into this community, but also to show how creative it is. And I encourage everybody who is a creator in this sense to continue to make wonderful creative videos. If you're inspired by one of my videos, then that's awesome. Just like you can totally like ride the first video I ever made was a trend video that I flipped around and it got 1 million views. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's something. Following trends is not the problem, right? Stealing it word for word. And even if you tag me in it, I have no respect for you, because I came into this community and I was just so fatigued of seeing the same 4 jokes told the exact same way. And I'm like, we are one of the most creative communities that when it comes to hobbies in the entire world. And we are saying the same 4 jokes. And I recently made a very meta, video about short form video about this and whatever. But it was it's very upsetting to, and that's the thing is like, either fans, and I'm not blaming the community here at all for this. I'm not. I think it's something that comes with a new platform and new videos and everything like that. And short form is just such a weird, different form of consumption and like creative consumption that we've ever had in the history of the world and whatever. But I still think like we're cyclically going through the same things that we saw in the beginning of YouTube. And that is, people are going to be like creators, and some of the community will be like, it's not that serious. When is it going to be? When are we going to fatigue our community so much that they see the same 5 things that they're going to lose hype to even play their own home game? And there's other factors and stuff like that too. We have the opportunity as creators. We have a job and a responsibility to make the best stuff that we possibly can for people who consume our content. We are lucky. We are incredibly lucky to be in the position that we are to make the things that we want to make, to be able to express our views into a game that people spend their entire hobby time doing. And we come in and we do when the barbarian fireball the room for the 92nd time, we do it for this, and then it gets 1,000 views, and people are like, "Oh, it's the algorithm." When does it become serious? At what point do your views start tanking that you have to steal someone's, or maybe that's how you just steal smaller creators or bigger creators' videos and stuff, and they end up like the people who haven't seen that video see this one. Oh, but I tagged you in it. I want you to make original, funny, amazing videos, because that's what this community deserves. And even if it's not like the community as a whole deserves it, you have a responsibility to have such an amazing, miraculous job there are people who have a harder job than you, and you have people who have a job that contributes more to society. And what do you do to show that respect back to them, for them to come into your community and whatever? It's to tell the same joke 4 times the exact same way, or to tell someone else's joke the exact same way. Why would I have respect for you? Why would I just meet with you at a party or some convention and whatever and act like it's nothing? You stand against everything that I have worked hard for in that community. And at some point, I think, whether it's conscious or not, because if you steal, like, if this happens in a long form setting, if this happens on YouTube, that community is going to have an outrage against this person that has stolen their favorite creator's video. And it doesn't happen that much in short form, because you have trending audios, and it's a totally new version of making content, right? So there's going to be ebbs and flows and stuff. But look back at 2020, and I'm not calling anyone out for this, but the same things that were working in 2020 don't work anymore because people got fatigued of it. So our response to that is to steal other people's contents that are trying to, and you can consider this an ego thing, you can consider it whatever. I understand how lucky I am. I have worked jobs that suck. I have understood that I have worked very hard to get to the position that I'm in. And even though it's been a year and a half, I like to think of myself as an example as someone who worked hard and can show hard work and originality and figuring out, as a member of the community, what we want works. So I think, in my opinion, it is very disrespectful to not only to me, but to the community as a whole, to steal someone's video word for word, shot for shot. And I beg you to reflect on yourself as a creator and the responsibility you have been given and the lucky and the blessing that you have been given to be able to make what you can. With that being said, if you're going to steal my video, I don't want you to tag me in it. I don't want you to tag me in it because then for some reason the community thinks it's fine and you get a free pass for stealing someone else's content. And if you don't, then they might be a little bit up in arms and stuff. If you've taken a video idea of mine and you want to expand on it, great. That's awesome. But if you steal it, I think honestly, I think you are ungrateful for what you have. And I think that's a big problem. And I think especially with AI coming and what we see with VO3 or whatever, the slop fest is going to begin soon. The endless array of people who don't have, creative identity and passions are able to type in a prompt and make something, and you're not going to be able to keep up. And who knows, maybe I won't either, right? But I want you to reflect not only on how, ungrateful you are to be in a position to be able to make something so cool and to have a community around you, but also the fact that, time's ticking. And not only are we going to see the same thing that happened in 2020 to 2025, we're going to see we are going to see a slap fest that we've never even could quantifiably imagine with the amount of AI videos that we're going to see in the future. So that's what I'm going to say to all creators that love to steal my ideas or other ideas. Ideas aren't the problem. It's the same script that people will steal, It's the same shot, it's the same script, and I do not respect you as a creator if you do such a thing. And that is my serious take for the podcast. And I think that, if this is you that I'm talking about, and let me be very clear, it's not just one person, but it is other people that I'm expected to shake hands with and say hello to at conventions and other things like that. I'm going to set myself up into a position to say, I am going to try to create something that is original and something that I think the community deserves. And you can steal my content if you want. And I hope you realize the fatigue is coming. So that is my take and whatever. With that being said, let's talk a little bit of Magic. There were, as of this morning, there were some new bans in Magic, and we're not going to talk about meta. I am not Brian Kibler. You do not come to me to talk about Magic, the Gathering, metas, and things like that. What I do want to talk about is how I play on Arena and how I'm supposed to be expected to buy 40 copies of Caverners of Souls in real life for the 30 different decks that I have, right? I no longer have a standard deck to play with that I can keep up competitively. And this is what I want to say. Arena does give you back the wild cards. So the Arena, Magic the Gathering Arena has a system where you can open packs, and every 6th or 7th pack, you will get a free rare wild card, and you can get any rare that you want or mythic card. Mythic is every 20 packs you open or something like that. And occasionally you can open packs and get wild cards itself, or you can open up the card and everything like that. So you're refunded these wild cards equivalent to the cards that you lost. The problem is now if I'm trying to make a Jeskai Oculus deck, right? And I don't have enough rares because I am not refunded for the rares of using, I'm not refunded from the lands. Jeskai Oculus is a bad example because it's blue-red. But if I want to go into a blue-black deck, right? Blue-black-white, right? I need to now get 12 plus rares of lands alone. For 4 wild cards, it is $10. now that and I don't think this should be a reason that anything shouldn't get banned in Magic in the first place, but the arena system is so bad when it comes, and to be fair, a rare that is in real life $60, right? A mythic that is $120 in real life is the same amount of money as a rare that is worth nothing. That sucks, right? A 40-cent rare is the same price as a $120 rare. And that's super cool. The problem with it being like, I now have to get 12 rares just to get the lands for a new deck. If I want to do that as a new Magic the Gathering player, is going to cost me $30, $40 just to make it so I can play the deck and keep up. That's not on top of the rares that I have to get. I am sick of that system. I do not like it. I think I should be able to break down my rares into parts and then be able to every 4 rare card I break down should be 1 rare wild card or something like that. There should be more bundles where I can buy wild cards. And now I'm stuck with the decision of literally, if I am to make because I play standard to I'm playing a competitive, I'm playing a competitive scene, a competitive format to be competitive, to play the top meta. And if I'm expected to do something like that, then I need the rares. I need the mythics. I have 12 mythics sitting in my collection in Magic the Gathering Arena and 0 rares. And I go to make my modern deck and I can't make mythics. I can't use these 4 mythic cards to make a Primeval Titan because they were once printed as a rare. So why not give me the option for both? Is that so hard? Now I'm sitting on all these mythics. I can't do anything with them. What a joke. I really hate that system. I think it's really stupid. At least I get refunded for my cards on Arena. If I made that deck in Standard, my aggro, now listen, relax, you can think whatever, but my Is It Prowess deck and my Red Mike's deck are invalid. I can't use them. I can't use any of that for Standard anymore. I got a refund on Arena. Imagine being in person. And that's not to say, I think Commander should have a larger ban list. Relax, okay? But and now I'm in a point where I can't really play Standard at all. I have to kind of move back and play some jank that I'll never win with until I can finally play for the next month and maybe get all of my land cards before I can get the 40 other rares that I need to play this deck. So I'm a little bummed about that. I love the bans. I'm so glad the meta is going to change, but again, I don't want to talk about that. I just wanted to complain real quick about how much I hate how long it takes for me to get a new deck. And now that I've worked so hard, I finally was able to make an Is It Prowess deck, and now it's banned. So I'm like, great. Now what am I supposed to make? I get 30 uncommons back and now 5 rares. Well, sorry, every other deck in Standard right now is taking 70 rares. Whatever. That's my take. That's my hot take for Magic for this one. And now I'm just gonna say we're getting up there. I think this is an hour and 20 minutes at this point. So we're gonna get up there. I'm just gonna make a quick comment. I've been playing Total War Warhammer 3. I shouldn't be playing that game. I'm so terrible at it. It is incredibly difficult. If you play Total War Warhammer, give me some resources. I'd love to know. And not how to make it so my currency works and whatever. I don't know anything about strategy. Sun Tzu would shoot me in the head if he met me. We're going to get into a couple questions just to talk about the actual point of the show and everything like that. And I have 2 of them because I knew catching up would take up a bit of time. So we're going to get into that real quick. This is from Zuby. Salutations, Zach. Thank you for providing constantly fresh and humorous content that makes me laugh in diabolical scenarios in the gym. You're welcome, man. Thank you for it in the gym. That's awesome. My question is in regarding to world building, as I have been spending quite some time constructing a new world for an upcoming campaign. When you are crafting a town or a city, is there a template, certain group of questions, or some type of structure that helps you maintaining a consistently well-developed? You also realize that I'm very bad at reading when it comes to stuff like this. Is there a template, certain group of questions or some type of structure that helps you produce a consistently well-developed location. I found that I often concern myself too much with maintaining realism, so I wind up trying to craft woodworkers, stonemasons, farms, stables, and other typically mandatory locations in the real world. However, it makes me feel like my world building becomes repetitive as I try to make everything more realistic. As I try to make everything make realistic sense, and that doesn't even begin to dive into actually structuring NPCs, districts, neighborhoods, or conflict. In one instance, the PCs being pathological liars, making up new identities for every person they meet. Ha ha ha, that's really funny for the 17th time. Good thing I didn't railroad, and instead I let them go ballistic in a sandbox homebrew setting. Anyways, any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for reminding me the beauty of collaborative storytelling and having new experience every time I'm at my table. P.S. You look like Alfredo Linguini with the temper of Chef Skinner, but I guess that's why you're always cooking in the TTRPG space. Thank you. Do I look like Alfredo Linguini? That's the main guy from Ratatouille. Favorite Pixar film, by the way. And if you think anything else, you're wrong and dumb. Chef Skinner's the main antagonist from that film. So thank you for that. I can see it. I can see it with the nose and everything like that. I made a video very recently about this, about a DM getting too caught up in the details. This is how I want to say my world building. Make the world as detailed as you want for as long as it's fun. Otherwise, just make up something that you can. Don't get caught up in the details of like, well, the stable boy needs to, and what's their parents' name, and what if my players? Make it up. It doesn't matter. It's okay. You can just do whatever it is that you find fun, that you want to be able to make, because if you're spending 30 minutes writing up a family tree for the stable boy, right, and you absolutely smashing your head against the table, like you're kind of doing the wrong thing, because that is the fun part for you. No matter who you are as a DM, it's a little performative and exhausting to be a DM. I've seen some DM. Okay, maybe I should relax, because I've seen some DMs that are just like literally looking at the book and they'll be like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, let me read this real quick." "Oh, it's actually this." The main part of a homebrew world is that it needs to be fun for you. Otherwise, run a book, because then that, like, everything's already there for you and it's a lot more paced out. The reason I don't like running books is because it limits me in what I can make, and I have to look up what the family tree is, and someone else already wrote that for me. So when I make a homebrew world, the point is to have fun making the homebrew world. So yeah, I that would be my advice, is don't get caught up on the details, because, you know, it's nice when somebody finds them, but there was also main plot points in my last campaign that I played, and that I ran, that never came up. And we had like a fun Q&A session right after, and it was cool to see people ask me questions about things that never came to fruition because they never asked it or never came up or anything like that. But if your DMing is becoming a chore, right, then you're doing the part that's not fun, which is just, you know, homework. You're making homework for something that may or may not ever come up. So don't get too caught up in the details. I just hit the camera. No! Well, that's fine. Whatever. It's still level. So that's what I'd say is just make stuff for that capacity of where up until the point you're not having fun, and don't get too caught up. Again, I will say, if you're new to the podcast, I'm not a homebrew world sandbox runner, meaning that like, oh, I put you in the middle of the town and you find the plot and we can go and do whatever you want. I really dislike that style of play, actually, and it's very boring, and I want some direction in my life. And everyone who's listened to the pod before knows that I like something like that, because I am busy and I get busier every day of my life, and I can't be expected to play a 4-hour game of Dungeons & Dragons where nothing happens. I want story. I want story that is formed in a way that I can accomplish goals in a timely manner, where I am not, you know, leaving a session being like, wow, that was fun to be shopping for me, searching around for. Listen, the D&D is a social contract between both, and this is where you start to get problems, is that people don't realize that is a social contract between both the players and the DM. If you spend too much time making your world and there's no story, your players aren't going to care. If your players spend too much time looking for the plot and you are not giving it to them because they didn't go to the exact right fishing hut to find, you know, Count Oogway to talk to him about going to freaking Mount Doom, right? your players aren't going to have fun. Your fun as a DM should come from, making this world and having the homebrew and whatever. And then, going with the story. It shouldn't be from, you walk into the Candle Tavern for the 40th time and nope, there's nothing there for you to do, but you can talk to these. I don't care. As a player, I do not care. I feel like you're wasting my time. And listen, I'm a little jaded. I've been playing for 12 years. I play like 5 games a week. I do not. If you are running a dungeon crawl, get me into a dungeon and I want to be playing combat. If you are having me role play, I want a story. I want it to be tight and I don't want me to be fumbling around every 5 seconds to be, trying to figure out what the actual plot is. Okay. So on a DM perspective, make what you want to make, but you need to concentrate on the story. I don't give up. Dude, I don't care how the stable boy is related to his parents. I don't care what the topology of your world looks like. I don't care about trade routes. I don't care about any of that, okay? I care about a tight-knit story and an interesting world where you're having fun making it. So that's my advice. Should I? And if you're new to the podcast, this isn't one where it's like, well, what I would say is that, be prepared, but don't. It's a game. Have fun. Stop making it a chore for yourself. Make a story. Make a world that you like telling. All right. Anyways, thanks for the question. Zach, boldtakes@outlook.com. Check it out. Hi, Zach. First, I just want to say you were the literal cause of my wanting to finally start playing D&D as a first-timer now, and as a kid with anxiety to start anything new. It really helped, and I'm loving it. I started playing because of Mr. Cheese and went straight to the Rat Folk Rogue. I love the podcast, and I feel like I learned a lot about etiquette at every table. So I'm going to into what is technically my first campaign, and I'm still struggling with what I roll and adding buffs and everything, and I can tell my stress is on the table when I ask a million questions on my turn. I play for the role play, but I want to be able to help in combat and be less irritating. Do you have any tips for people just wanting to start learning, remembering, or genuinely helping more or hindering at the table? Also, any tips on helping to keep the character and learn how to make the right decisions for in-character moments? Thank you for reading. And once again, love the podcast, although you should rename it Dungeons and Dennis Reynolds or the Golden God of D&D. The Golden God! We're the same age. So people know who the host is. Sorry. If you haven't seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I love that show. You should absolutely go watch it. Sorry if this email sent multiple drafts. It did not. So, great question. And this is something I will answer this in kind of 2 parts. The first part is don't be worried. If your friends are a little mad at you because you're new and you're trying to, play smart, then you can tell them to shut the hell up and that, give you a second. With that being said, in between your turns, you should be thinking about what you're doing. D&D Beyond is a great layout. I have my gripes with D&D Beyond. Wizards, please add online book codes to your physical copies. Oh, but you won't make as much money. Whatever. Be looking in between your turns. Don't be on your phone. I've said this before in the pod. Don't be stressing, as a DM about your players being on the phones in between. Combat, you are playing combat the entire time as a DM. Your players aren't. So let them be on their damn phones. With that being said, if you're a player and you're on your phone and then you don't know what you're doing by the time your turn comes around, that's something wrong. You need to be ready. If you're going to be on your phone, you need to be ready when that comes around. So D&D Beyond, just remember action, bonus action, reaction. What are you doing as your action? Should you be prepared for anything in your reaction? And when it comes to like opportunity attacks, your DM should be like, oh, so you and you get opportunity. That's a good DM tip. If you're a DM, tell your players when they can take an opportunity attack. Don't be like, oh, you should have been paying. This has never happened to me, but if a DM was like, oh, you should have been paying attention, you could have gotten an opportunity attack. I'm taking an opportunity attack on you. I would be so mad about that. You as a DM, be nicer to your players, all right? Be nicer to your players and make sure to tell them when they have an opportunity attack, especially if they're just learning. Well, you should have been paying attention. I grab your head, push you on the dunce hat. I'm taking over the game. Whatever. What is this? What is this world? Oh, it's gothic vampires. I got it. I got it, actually. Oh, what's this world? Oh, it's Game of Thrones. I got it, actually. I can do it from here. Yeah, so you can be on your phone, just be ready, and just remember, the big things is just like action. It's your biggest thing. What are you going to do as your action, right? If you are a barbarian or something, if you're already raging and you have no bonus action, don't worry about it, right? Roll the dice, swing your sword, whatever. The second part of the answer to this question is I wanted to talk about just general tips that people sometimes don't talk about when it comes to D&D a lot. So this is just like combat tips, right? Number one, even despite your role, you guys need to be focus firing because you need to take people out of initiative. If you have monster A and monster B and they're the same monster, right? And this guy has 50 health and this guy has 4, right? You don't want to start taking out 50 because, oh, he can die easily. Like someone else can get him, whatever. You need to take this guy out of initiative. You need to make sure he takes it out. If you have 50 here, monster A has 50, monster B has 20 health points, sleep is a better option than attacking him. If you're not guaranteed to do 20, because you want to take him out of initiative. By the time his initiative comes out, you want him to be gone. Focus fire. Make sure that there is less people in initiative. I would say for a lot of general like combat tricks spread out, there's a lot of AoE, a lot of area of effect spells in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't run flank or anything like that in my game, so positioning more comes in of like where the enemies can hit you. If you're a mage, backline. If you are a mage, get some way of getting out of frontline. If you can, have a marching order. Sometimes, in those early levels, look to increase your ability scores as opposed to taking Sentinel or Tavern Brawler or whatever. Worry about damage later on because you won't be able to do damage if you can't hit an opponent, if you can't like hit a monster. So that's a big thing is I haven't seen out of the millions of D&D videos that there are out there of like how to make Thanos as your character and how to make your character the strongest, most OP build. Hey, DM, I have the most overpowered build, and I've ruined combat for everyone else. Think about just like, in general, RTS strategy, things like that. Flanking in the sense of like why flanking is good, combat-oriented wise, right? Combatically, as opposed to like, even if the rule of like you get advantage or not. It's just like, it's simply like if you play a JRPG, focus fire, use support correctly. There's the new alert in 5.5 lets you change up, initiative and stuff with other people. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with that I would totally recommend. Just being smart about your move and being ready for when that comes up. And if your players are still like, if the other people at the table are going to be friggin' huge jerks and they're going to be like, oh, they're sweating, taking forever. Well, you can tell them that you're learning the game. It's okay to learn the game and whatnot. So those are the questions I had because I knew it would be a little bit. I think this is the longest podcast episode. Well, we will see. But thank you guys for tuning in. I can't tell you how much fun this was. And thank you for listening to my rants. This has been super cool. It's great to give advice out and everything. We're going to try to make this weekly. I still need to settle into my new place, so if it takes some weeks to get there, I'm sorry, but we will get there. We will get into the ebb and flows of things. I fly out to, actually, I don't want to disclose that, but I fly out tomorrow for a couple of days, and then I'll be back. So getting back into the swing of things, and more things are still coming up. So thank you for your support as always. Welcome back to the podcast. Send your questions or sticky situations over to boldtakes@outlook.com. And until next time, I love you and goodbye.